Hey, Bills Mafia. We know there's only one topic every day. All Bills, all the time. And now Matt Bovee and Sal Capaccio are going really deep, talking Bills all year long, because it's always game day in Buffalo.
All right, Bills fans, what's going on? Matt and I are recording here literally 11:59 p.m. and the clock is about to strike midnight. But, man, it struck midnight early for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They turned into a pumpkin. The Buffalo Bills dominating 47-10 win here on Monday Night Football in front of a national television audience. This was pretty impressive.
Yeah, this was one of the more impressive games I remember from the Bills on both sides of the ball. They were exceptionally efficient offensively. Josh Allen was magnificent. Joe Brady was dialing some really impressive things up. And then defensively, I mean, they give up one touchdown to start the second half. It was very clear that they were just trying to keep everything in front of them. Didn't want to give up a big play. They were basically like, all right, you're going to move the ball, you're going to bleed this clock, and you're just going to play into our hand. And that's what they did. So I just think that this was a really, really impressive game, and admittedly one that I think we were both a little skeptical about going into it. Jags are a weird team, team fighting for their life with the season, didn't want to get to 0-3, and the Bills just punched them in the mouth.
So we can go a number of different directions here, but I think the first place we should start is number 17. I mean, he was phenomenal. I'm going to tell you, I had people sending me screenshots on television because sometimes they get caught like in the television shot. There is one that people were sending me that my jaw was literally out because of the throw he made right in front of me to Ty Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the throws he made, excuse me, the touchdown to Dalton Kincaid, the touchdown to Ty Johnson, just incredible that Josh Allen could thread those needles. But overall, from start to finish, he was dialed in. He was great with his arm, obviously, and with his legs. Finished as the team's leading rusher with 44 yards.
Yeah, I mean, going into this game, we talked about, I did, a quick little mini episode yesterday and some of the things that I said on the news. The Jags actually have a decent defense, and they got a good run defense. Now, you would not know that when I say the Jags had a decent defense after what the Bills did to them today. They are pretty banged up. So I knew that this was going to be, and a lot of people, it's not like it was just us. A lot of people thought this was going to be a game that they needed to win by passing the ball, and they did very early and often, and they were just having success. I mean, the first play of the game, they hit James Cook down the sideline for a big gain. Then after that, it just felt like they were comfortable the whole time. They looked efficient, and I think the thing that has been so impressive about Joe Brady is he is dialing up plays that don't make Josh need to be spectacular. Right. There are throws that are there to be had. There are times when he looks spectacular. The throw to Ty Johnson, the throw to Dalton Kincaid. Like, those are plays that there are a couple guys in the league who can make. But some of the outs, the little like routes to Khalil Shakir or to Curtis Samuel, there's other guys in the league who can make those throws because some of them are easy throws. That's a very good sign for the Bills.
I love your point you just made about, making it so Josh doesn't have to be, Superman, but he still is, because he can make those throws that other people can't. He can make those plays that other people can't. Once again, tonight, I should say, how many different people caught passes? Can we count here?
I think it was like 7.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 different players caught passes. And Matt, what's amazing to me is this is one of those times where everything they're doing is what they told us they wanted to do all offseason. They structured this team so everybody eats. They structured this team so they're not reliant just on one player or two players, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. They told us by all their actions and all their words that they're going to create this team where everybody can do a little bit of everything. And honestly, the Jaguars had no answer for anything the Bills were doing, because they didn't know where it was coming from. Yeah. Is it Curtis Samuel in the backfield? Is it James Cook out wide? Is it Dalton Kincaid going in motion and then a corner route? It didn't matter. The Bills had an answer no matter what they wanted to do.
Yeah, and it also kind of played to their, it actually ended up. So one of the things we'll talk about is Keon Coleman gets basically benched in the first quarter for being tardy to something. We don't exactly know what we're talking about.
Do we know that's confirmed?
Yeah, Sean McDermott talked about it.
Okay, thank you. I did not. I wasn't there.
Okay, so Sean McDermott said that Keon Coleman was basically sat down in the first quarter because he was late to something. Sean did not elaborate, but said that he really liked the way Keon responded. So there's something there. But my point is, we don't see Keon Coleman in the first quarter. Then he comes out and he gets 2 snaps, and then his first target of the game is the touchdown. And I think that plays to the Bills' favor, because The Jags don't know he was tardy. The Jags are just like, okay, maybe he's not part of the game plan. And then all of a sudden they throw to him and it's a touchdown. And it's like, okay, if you can keep a guy like that in your back pocket, I'm not saying that's going to happen every week, but he gets a target. Then MVS got a couple targets. Obviously, they were looking for Dalton Kincaid. Actually, of all the guys we're talking about, did Dawson Knox have a catch?
Yes, he did. He had a crosser.
Okay.
And then he gained like 6-7 yards on it, I'm going to guess.
So, yeah, Dawson Knox, 2 targets, 1 catch for 7 yards. Like the fact that I don't even remember if he had a catch, I think indicates how many different ways they're looking. So a lot of different things that they can do. But the one guy I want to talk about, Khalil Shakir, is so good. That guy is so efficient. He is so effective. Everybody's always just like, yeah, he's a football player. He makes all of these contested hard catches. He gets hit hard. Sometimes
he takes a beating.
Sometimes illegally, and he still is making these catches. So of all the guys they've had on their team, he has been far and away the most consistent and productive 3 games into the season.
Just a little behind the scenes so everybody knows why I had no idea. Sean McDermott confirmed that. Matt is in the post-game press room with Sean McDermott. I'm in the locker room with players because we're already carrying that post-game from Sean McDermott live. So I'm trying to get extra sound. So I appreciate him letting me know. I had no idea until you came up here that McDermott actually confirmed that. We'd heard a little bit of that.
Breaking news.
There you go.
From Channel 7 sports director Matt Bove.
So, okay. Is Josh Allen the MVP of the league through 3 weeks after that performance?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, he is.
4 touchdowns, all in the first half, no interception this game. He was absolutely sensational. Also on offense, though, James Cook, even though it was a struggle to run the ball for the Buffalo Bills, he still got involved. 4 catches for 48 yards. He had 11 carries for 39 yards, only 3.5 yards a carry. So what's that? He had, 80 yards basically total. He's still a nice game for James Cook, but the drop, man, it would have been nice for him to come up with that. They still scored on the touchdown.
Yeah.
Luckily, it didn't hurt the Bills, but even though you look at those numbers, you say they could have run the ball better. You wish they would have. James Cook still very involved in the offense despite struggling to run the football.
Kind of the James Cook like MO, right? Makes a couple nice catches, has a couple nice runs on the ground, doesn't make a play that he should play, but overall still had a good game. I've liked what we've seen from James Cook. I mean, it was a week ago. Well, it feels like forever ago. But when we were in Miami, I mean, he was the guy. He had the 3 touchdowns. He had the huge game. So, yeah, I mean, you would like to see him make the catch, but overall, I just think that it was a very efficient effect. There's one of those games there's hard to find flaws in, right? I mean, They scored 47 points. Josh Allen, I think, threw 2 passes in the second half because, the game was so out of hand. It was like, let's just hand it off and bleed the clock. So there's a lot to like.
I don't believe you were sacked, right? There was no sacks?
No, I don't believe so. Yeah, I don't believe any sacks.
So how about good job on the by the offensive line? You know what? Now that I'm looking at the game book, let me look at what Joshua Hines-Allen had on the game. He was kind of kept off the stat sheet a little bit. Here it is. 1 tackle, 2 assists for 3 total tackles, nothing behind the line of scrimmage.
I want to say offensively from the line, it's hard to know when you're just watching the game live. And once you go back through and you watch it again, there's more you can take away. I have been incredibly impressed with the play of their tackles. I think that Deion Dawkins looks really good, and I think Spencer Brown is off to a nice start. Now, if you look at the Dalton Kincaid touchdown play, I think you could make the argument if you were a Jags fan, probably should be a holding. If you make an argument it's a Bills fan, it's like if you're going to take 10 seconds to get to the guy, there's probably going to be a hold on every single play at some point. I think he did a nice job giving Josh the time in the window to eventually be able to find Dalton Kincaid. I've been very impressed with the way that their tackles have played 3 games into the season.
Yeah, I actually got a text from a friend of mine who's a Jaguars fan showing me the holding on that play. I had no idea. Yeah, apparently I didn't even look at it. I'm like, whatever, dude. It was like the 3rd touchdown or whatever.
37.
At that point, I mean, it wasn't out of hand yet, but, this is what happens pretty much every week we see. The offense, anything else on the offense you want to touch on before we move on to the defense here?
Offensively, let me look at the box score real quick just because I have it in front of me. Mitch Trubisky was perfect. He was
1 of 1. That's right.
1 of 1 for 3 yards.
I mean, how about I got something for you. How about 2nd week in a row, Sean McDermott goes for a 4th and 3 early in the game. And once again, very similar play, this time to a receiver. It was Shakir. Last week against the Dolphins, it was a running back, James Cook. But how about Sean McDermott being aggressive like that early in the game?
I think it sets a tone. Listen, there have been times when Sean has not been aggressive to a flaw like that. You can be critical of that. It has not been the case lately, right? I mean, in week 1, we hated the field goal at the end of the game, the field goal of death. That was a little strange. That was a little out of character for him. But to go for it in the beginning of the game against the Dolphins, to go for it in this game to set the tone, been really impressed with their aggressiveness. And, they went for it a couple other times too. They went for one where it was like a 4th and 1 and Josh QB sneaked it. These are signs, these are positive steps when you've got maybe the second best player in the NFL, arguably the first best player right now. Trust your guy to make a play. And they have.
And by doing that, he also trusts his defense. And so we'll talk about the day they put in.
And really fed up with how, I was looking up at you because my chair was down so far. Did you notice that at all?
Oh, I did, but this is one of the times where I'm shorter. I'm taller than you, so I didn't say anything.
Kind of was looking.
Normally, I'm shorter than you
because I'm farther back than you, and I'm sitting down slouched.
I did notice.
I'm gonna just kind of come up to eye level real quick.
We have a very, very loyal listener. His name is Michael, and he tweets at us all the time. He loves the show. Yes. But he tweeted at me, and Mike, you're right, buddy. He wrote, Sal, I heard you talking a lot about the press conferences from Lawrence and Peterson, but clearly that meant nothing. This is embarrassing. And you're right, Michael. But it doesn't have to mean anything, but I did think the Jaguars would play a much more inspired football. Then again, the Bills just put their foot down on them early, did not let them get up. And that included right away the Jacksonville Jaguars coming out and the Bills, forcing a 3-and-out on the very first series. Take a look at let's go through their series here. In the first quarter. Let me find the series of the games. Here we go. Jaguars, one drive in the first quarter, gained 1 yard, 3 plays. They punted. Then they did go 14 plays, 47 yards, field goal. Then 11 yards, interception, 3 plays, punt, 8 plays, turnover on downs. They had, I believe, 60-something yards of offense in the first half. The Bills, from the get-go, just said, we're not going to give you anything.
Mm-hmm. Let me say this. If I'm looking off to the side, I'm not ignoring Sal. I'm actually just doing a little bit of work over here. I think that this game is more about the Bills being very good than it is about the Jags being bad. I think that the Jags are a weird team that has a bit of talent that kind of got caught in an avalanche and was never able to get that avalanche to stop falling. I feel a little bit similar to what we saw happen to the Texans yesterday to the Vikings. I do not think the Texans are a bad team. I just think that the Vikings kind of took over the game and then there was nothing you could do to stop the bleeding. So I do not think the Jags are horrendous. I think that they're an okay football team. But I think the Bills might be a very, very good football team on both sides of the ball. And for them to be doing this without Taron Johnson, without Terrell Bernard, without Matt Milano, give some of the guys their flowers. Bless you. Give some of these guys credit. Cam Lewis has made some nice plays. But there's also moments when that's not Taron Johnson. When there, is a potential mismatch there. Same thing in the middle of the field without Terrell Bernard there. These guys getting closer to coming back, the Bills being 3-0 and having this kind of output on defense is impressive. And then, I just saw you write down, Javon Solomon had a sack. Von Miller has looked great. Dwayne Smoot getting able to move him inside and let Greg Rousseau and AJ Epinesa and Von Miller and Ed Oliver get after it. They have flexibility. They have depth on the defensive line. They got a lot of nice players over there.
Javon Solomon gets his first NFL sack. It results almost in a scoop and score for Casey Tuhill. He couldn't hold on to the ball, but it does result in a turnover. Jamarcus Ingram gets his first NFL sack. Boy, is he playing out of his mind right now. Jamarcus Ingram. And here's the scary part. I asked Jamarcus afterwards in the locker room, I said, hey, you're normally a boundary corner. You've had to kind of be thrown into this role to play dime safety. What's that transition been like? And here's this guy who's playing great. And he's like, I'm kind of still learning every week. It's a lot to kind of take in. And I'm thinking, man, if he can get even better from what he's doing, and they're really relying on these guys, obviously, to step up in their place. Matt brought up Terrell Bernard, Matt Milano, both of them on the sidelines for the game. Matt Milano was here in the building on the sidelines for the Buffalo Bills today. He was actually at the game. And he was standing next to Terrell Bernard the whole game. And the Bills did not put Terrell Bernard on injured reserve prior to the game, which means they're optimistic that he will miss less than the required 4 games.
I'm going to give Sal a plug here. This is why it is very nice to have a podcast with somebody who is the sideline reporter. I can tell you what happened in the press conference and my vantage point from up in the press box. I did not know that Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard were here on the sideline. That's a very, very good sign for them. And obviously the Terrell Bernard not getting put on IR and the fact that, it's already a game now. I'm not a doctor, but this is a short week. It's probably a stretch to think either of those guys come back for the Ravens game, but I think that Houston would definitely be in play because that would be 3 games. And for Taron, it would be the 4th game.
Yeah, I mean, even at the very least, you would think that means they are confident Bernard could be back for the Monday night game against the Jets, which is right after that. So from the press conference, was there anything? I think the Bills came out pretty clean with injuries in this game. There was the only thing that happened in the tent. There were two things that happened in the tent, actually. Actually, I would maybe Tylan Grable. He was in the tent late in the game, and I don't know if he went back in. Spencer Brown had to play late again. He had to go back into right tackle because Tylan Grable. But Cam Lewis went in to get a head evaluation, but they brought him right out. I don't think anything else. Did Sean McDermott say anything? Was there anything that you noticed health-wise, Matt, on top of a 47-10 win? They may have got through this game without any injuries.
Yeah, I think that's a huge win for them. They've been banged up, right? Yeah. Like they are, every team is in some capacity, but defensively they have had their lumps so far this season. So I do think that they got out of this fairly clean. I mean, there's usually things that pop up the next couple days after a game, but yeah, no, this was a very, very good night for the Bills.
All right, so I know that it's stale in the press box, basically, and no cheering or emotion or anything like that. I don't know how anybody could even contain themselves, though, but you had to do it after Damar Hamlin's interception, because I can tell you what it was like on the field. It was very reminiscent to the kickoff return from Nyheim Hines when the team returned to play after the Damar Hamlin incident in Cincinnati. Damar Hamlin gets his first career interception. And by the way, he's still starting, and Edwards and Cole Bishop are healthy, and he's still the guy. You know why? Because exactly what I've said for the last few weeks. This defense is kind of perfect for him. He's that player where he keeps the ball in front of him, doesn't get beat deep, just is coached what he's supposed to do. He doesn't make plays on the ball until one gets thrown to him. Overthrow, no doubt, got thrown to him. He made the play. And Matt, afterwards, I'll tell you, there were so many people. I'm standing, Matt and I are here right now. We're in the tunnel end zone, look in the corner, basically. So the interception was made going that way. When he came over to the sidelines, all of the fans, here, hold this for a second. Ready? They were doing.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Is that how you do it?
Right? Yeah.
Right? How you do it? Right? All the fans were doing this. I'm doing the heart sign, by the way, with my hands for all of you on audio listening, and it was just super emotional down there on a Monday night. We all know what happened on a Monday night in Cincinnati. Damar gets his first career pick.
I mean, he acknowledged it, right? So you almost feel gross thinking about it, right? Like it happens and you're like, oh my gosh, this is Monday Night Football. To even acknowledge it feels a little bit strange. But then after the game, he says in his press conference, the last time I started a game on Monday Night Football, you all remember what happened. So I would imagine he's probably thinking about it. I mean, I woke up this morning. What day? It's Tuesday now. I woke up on Monday morning. And I'm always wired on game days. Like my mind's going in a million different places. And I put on Good Morning America. Shout out ABC. They had a one-on-one interview with Damar Hamlin going into this game. So like, it's just crazy that this guy playing on Monday Night Football, getting the attention that he's got, was able to kind of have this full circle moment of making the interception, making a big play for the Bills. That's kind of one of those moments when you know, like, okay, it's their night. At that point, it was very clear the Bills were going to win this game. It was even before that, but it felt like that was kind of like the cherry on top. That was the exclamation point at the end of the sentence: Bills dominate Jaguars.
So after every game, I write an arrow up, arrow down column. You know, it's kind of the good, the bad. And throughout the game, I'm taking notes so I don't forget something I saw that I want to give an arrow up or an arrow down to. And immediately I did give an arrow down. They had an extra point blocked. I don't know what happened on the play. You could tell me, maybe you saw something. Was it a Tyler Bass mishit? Was it too low? Was it simply a bad block up front?
I think it was bad block up front, but also Tyler Bass kicking it with a little bit too much oomph, we'll say, and a little bit too low, more of like a line drive. I think there's a lot of people at fault here. It looked like a concern, but then to their credit, what did he have? 2 field goals in this game, Tyler Bass? Did he end up with 2 field goals?
He did. I think he ended up, let's see, he kicked a 27 and a 43-yarder. Yeah. The 43-yarder for me was big. It was towards the end of the game, and it reminded me of the preseason when he was so good, and then all of a sudden he missed the last one in preseason. I said, oh, don't kind of spoil this night a little bit by missing one here, but he drilled it, and I thought that was really nice for him.
Yeah, I think that overall net good day. The block, I think there's a couple people at fault, but we are being nitpicky here. Oh, sure. Admittedly, we're like, you're listening to this and you're like, what are you guys talking about? We're being nitpicky. They won by 37 points. Like, there was a lot that went right in this game.
Okay, so how about an under the radar really good thing? This kid Codrington is good. Yeah. He is a good return. Yeah. The New York Jets are going to regret trading this kid to the Buffalo Bills. I know they have Gibson, who's we all know he returned the Monday night or last year and beat the Bills. This kid is really special at what he can do.
Also, at the end of the game, he was in on defense and he made a play, and you're like, wow, he was at nickel, and you're like, okay, like good for him. But yeah, he is electric. He had 2 really nice returns. He had the one that was like 22 yards. He had the one that bounced up in the air. He catches it. He brings it back. Like, he is someone who brings them some juice. Still inexperienced. This is a tough stadium to play in, but he does not show any fear. I love the confidence on a ball that bounces to run up, catch it. Most people would just let that run out, and that's the difference. That's a huge difference. They get the ball there at like the 35. Most people would have just let that bounce. They would have probably started at the 10. So shout out to him. That was a nice play.
Light night for punter Sam Martin. He doesn't get into the game until the fourth quarter when the Bills punt. Now, normally if a team only punts twice, you're like, wow, they had a good day offensively. The Jags only punted twice. You know why? They went for 8 fourth downs. They were 4 for 8. They went for 8 fourth downs. But on third down, I don't know if you saw the stat for the Bills. This is great. The Bills actually, one of the areas they needed to improve on was third down defense. They hadn't been very good this year. Great on Monday night. 2 of 13. That's 15.4%.
That's exceptional. Yes. And I mean, I think that even speaks more volumes. Obviously, the third down stat is big, but I think it shows you that they gave up 10 points and the Jags went for it that often. Like, it was taking them more than 3 plays to get first downs occasionally, especially early in the game. There were multiple occasions. I think when it was already 13-0 or whatever it was, they started to go for it because it felt like if they didn't, the game was basically going to be over. Now, these were like 4th and 1 and 4th and half a yard or whatever it was. But yeah, no, I thought the defense was good, and I think the third down defense was good. I mean, here we got the box score right here. Dorian Williams has 10 tackles. That's a nice day. Obviously, we talked about Cam Lewis, Damar Hamlin, a nice day. Oh, there's one other player that I want to talk about. Were you pointing at AJ Epinesa?
Yes.
I was not going to talk about
No, I was going to look at his stat line. I didn't think he was necessarily like dominant, but he actually wound up with a sack and 2 quarterback hurries.
Okay, so yeah, AJ Epinesa had a couple big plays. For me, Christian Benford is so good.
I agree.
I
agree.
Here's a question. Is Christian Benford their number 1 corner? I think he might be.
I think it's tough with this group to put a 1 and 2. I think they're both really, really good.
Yeah.
Ross, they're just such different players. And okay, I'm going to say no for this reason. If a team had a really stud receiver and they said we have to shadow him, is it going to be Christian Benford or Russell Douglas?
I mean, I saw a lot of Christian Benford on some pretty good receivers.
I have too.
Miami.
My point is, I don't know if they choose either one of them. I think they're good either way, right? Yeah. They're not going to. And if it's anybody, it might be Douglas. I don't know, but he is listen, they're both very good. He could be their number 1.
They're both.
Let me ask this. Is Christian Benford the next guy to get an extension on this team? This is his 3rd year. He's eligible after this year.
Yes, absolutely. Unequivocally, yes. They love him. He plays such a fundamentally sound type of game. He really works well with Russell Douglas. Like, Russell Douglas is the ball hawk, big play guy, the guy who's going to try and jump around and make a big play. Christian Benford is just steady Eddie and just really, really consistently solid. There was one play today where I think people might watch the play live and think that it was on Benford, but they made a switch and Lewis didn't pick it up as fast, and Benford kind of fell deep into coverage, but like that one wasn't on him. He had a nice breakup. I think it might have been Christian Kirk who was out in coverage. So yeah, like, I just think Christian Benford is somebody who nationally does not get talked about, but might be one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL.
Joe Andreessen gets into an NFL regular season game for his hometown team, the Buffalo Bills. He's on the very first kickoff. The Bills were in the return team, which is so super cool. As soon as that ball's kicked, he could say, I played in an NFL game. Then he got into the game late, and I believe he was credited with a tackle here. He's actually credited with a tackle and an assist for 2 on the stat sheet.
Yeah, I mean, what a cool moment. I just think that is such an awesome story for somebody from Western New York. He can carry that for the rest of his life. Whatever happens with his career, he can tell his family, his kids, his grandkids, whatever it is, like, I played in the NFL and I got to play for the Buffalo Bills, which I think is really, really cool. So shout out to him. That's awesome.
All right. Did you see before the game who was on the field?
I did after the fact. Well, okay, yes. So that's an amazing picture, by the way. Okay. And the fact that they're making Eric Wood look small, I think shows you how big NBA players are.
I'm going to put this up on the screen for those of you. If you're only listening on audio, that's why you got to subscribe to It's Always Game Day in Buffalo and the Sal Sports YouTube page. This is before the game. I'm looking. I'm like, wait a minute. Is that who I think it is? It's Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady, who are on the Bills sideline. Here it is, folks. All right, we got a little light there issue here. Can you see that? There we go. There you go. Check that out. There's Eric Wood, who's small compared to them, and me, who's really, really small compared to them. And then I had no idea. I'm not a big soccer fan. Are you? Josie Altidore was also there. So yeah, we took a couple pictures there. And so here's the deal. I'm like, why are these guys here? The Bills' new COO, Pete Gwelly, used to work with Michael Jordan in Charlotte. He knows a lot of these stars, and he's in connection. I don't know exactly the fundamental reason why they're here, but other than, hey, come to Buffalo and, and enjoy the experience or whatever. Maybe there's more behind the scenes to that. But how cool is it? Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady in Buffalo wearing Bills gear and Josie Altidore.
That's very cool. Did you see the LeBron James tweet?
I did, but not until the Bills or someone else tweeted out to show it, basically.
Okay. LeBron James tweeted at 8:21 p.m., I really like watching Josh Allen play football. Now, it's a tweet from an athlete watching another athlete play, but you could tell Josh was like kind of a kid, just geeking out afterwards when he was asked about it. That's got to be pretty cool. LeBron James is arguably the most famous athlete of my generation, right? Like your generation would be Michael Jordan.
Sure.
For sure. LeBron James is arguably the most successful and recognizable athlete of my lifetime. And for him to be tweeting about Josh Allen, it's not the first time either. But when I saw those pictures of Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter, I was like, when's LeBron get to a game?
I bet you that's going to happen at some point. It's got to, right?
I bet it will too.
That's a great point.
That would be legit. LeBron being in Buffalo to come to a game. That'd be pretty crazy.
Well, the Bills now have a short week, and then they have to get ready for a really tough opponent on the road, the Baltimore Ravens, who looked really good in Dallas on Sunday. We were just looking at the lines. 2.5 it opened. I don't know if it's gone down or not, but right now, 2.5 what we saw.
I'm going to check on that real quick.
But either way, the Bills being underdogs in Baltimore just shows you how good the Ravens are thought of and are. And we know that they have Lamar Jackson. But look, obviously you want to go to the game and win. If you lose, it'll be really disappointing. The Bills have built themselves a little bit of a buffer here, though, right? With a 3-0 start. You don't want to go to Baltimore and drop a game. It's a conference game. I totally get all that. It's not what I'm saying. But even if you come out of the first 4 at 3-1, regardless of where that loss comes from, you're still in a really good spot.
Yeah, I think with this 3-game stretch they now have, they're all on the road. Makes it even harder. At Baltimore, at Houston, at the Jets. Of the 3 of them, the Jets game is the most important. That said, if you win one of the 3, which seems very manageable and maybe like the worst case scenario, I still think you would be incredibly happy with the start, given the teams you've won, the teams you've beat, the injuries you've had along the way, and also what the heck's going on in Miami. I just don't know. So I just think I really do think right now it feels like it's going to be the Bills or the Jets coming out of this division. You start the season 4-2, you have to be thrilled. You start the season 5-1. Wow, would that be impressive? But yeah, you've built yourself a little bit of a wiggle room, which is why I think this game was so important, because it was a home game against an AFC team. It's a game you got to win, and it does give you, a margin for error if you've got a weird loss along the way, because they will. It's the NFL. Teams very rarely win 13 games or 14 games. You're going to drop a game or two, but this gives you a little bit more breathing room if you do.
I'm looking at the points per game. Is this up to date or not? 32.5 for the Bills. Does that sound right? No. Okay, so the Bills will pass. The Bills will pass the Saints as the highest scoring team in the league after tonight.
Oh, 32. Okay, maybe
32.5. What is it right now? Let's see. Let's take a look. Hold on. Let's figure out the Bills.
Do some math.
Hey, right here. I got it right here.
47 points. They had 47
points. This is not up to date.
They had 47 points this week. They had 31 points the week before, and they had 34. So let's do a little bit of math. Divided by 3, they're averaging 37 points per game.
Okay, so 37 points per game.
Which would put them at
number one
in the league by more.
Saints are 34.3 going into tonight.
By more than a field goal. What about what they've allowed a game? So they allowed 10 today. They allowed 10 last week, and then they allowed, what was it in the first game? 24.
Right? 31-24.
No,
was the final score because of the kick return, right? Hold on, here we go. We're doing this 28. Sorry, 28. Thank you.
They are allowing 16 points a game,
okay,
so they are scoring 37 and allowing 16. They have a point differential of like plus 57 or something.
16 would be about 6th or 7th in the league right now. And that, by the way, does include a kickoff return against them. But, all your special teams points count for or against you. Tonight also, real quick, while we were here, the Bengals were losing to go to 0-3 to the Washington Commanders at home on Monday night.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are done. I just think that the defense does not look good. I mean, we didn't watch the game, but if you're giving up 38 points to the Commanders, you're probably not exceptionally good on defense. I think in that division with the Ravens, like they haven't played the Ravens yet, right? No, they haven't played the Ravens yet. I don't buy the Steelers, but the fact that they're 3-0, like they've got a little bit of
here's their schedule coming up, which is it's doable for them.
Mm-hmm. They're playing the Panthers, then they're home against the Ravens, then they've got the Giants, Browns, Eagles. Like they've got a little stretch that they could go on.
But that included tonight, I thought, and they lost.
But that included tonight. And they also lost at home to the Patriots to start the season. So like they might just not be very good.
Yeah, well, Sunday night, Bills against the Ravens should be a really interesting one. We're back at it this week. The Bills will have probably a regular media week, a practice week, which means they'll have off on Tuesday as a team. They'll get back on Wednesday. I'm guessing Sean McDermott will give a little bit of a lighter practice on Wednesday to get their legs back under them. And then Thursday kind of is the more ramp-up day to get ready for the Baltimore Ravens. But, Matt, here they are, a team that, I guess in summary, is far and exceeding a lot of expectations that people had for them heading into 2024 for all the changes that they went through and all the different kinds of, getting all the different names that walked out the door in some capacity. For the Bills to be 3-0, very, very impressive by this organization from top to bottom.
Enjoy it, Bills fans, because you're going to watch the national sports shows this week, listen to the national radio. You're going to hear all these takes and stuff. I think right now the consensus around the NFL is that the Bills are the number one team. Like you're going to look at the power rankings, you're going to look at all this stuff. They're the number one team.
It'll be Bills or Chiefs in all the rankings.
And they have earned it. This is a great start. It is just a start. They have had strong starts before. Then it feels like they hit a little bit of a rut. Then it feels like they end up coming back, into their groove. But given the injuries that they have dealt with and the way that they have won these games, I think the Cardinals might be sneaky good. I don't know about the Dolphins yet. Obviously, the Jags, not great, 0-3. But I think that these have been they won tonight by 37 points. I do not care if you were a bad team.
And took your foot off the gas.
I do not care. The caliber of team to beat anybody by that is impressive. I think the Bills are very legit. They have exceeded my expectations and, a lot to like. 5
teams in the NFL are 3-0. The Bills are one of the 5. The Steelers and the Chiefs in the AFC, along with them, the Vikings and the Seahawks in the NFC. Before we get out of here, just a quick shout out to both Mitch Morse and Gabe Davis. They came back, they played, and saw a lot of fist bumps and hugs going on. And Mitch Morse actually stood outside the Bills locker room, and every single guy that came out that he knew, he made sure he said hi to and talked to.
Wow, that's pretty legit. Yeah, Mitch Morse was an exceptional guy to cover and a really, really great teammate. And, Gabe Davis was the same way. A lot of those guys in that locker room love Gabe. I saw Gabe after the game, actually, just went up and said hi. Yeah. We had a good relationship, and I just asked him, I was like, how are things? And he's like, it's good. It was after a game that they lost by 37, so it's got to be a kind of a tough pill to swallow. And I was like, you miss Buffalo? And he was like, it's bittersweet being back here today for sure. And I think a lot of these guys, they were on the other side of this for several years, both of them. So I would imagine that this is going to take some getting used to.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm a little luckier. I got Gabe before the game. He was a lot more smiley before the game.
Yeah, I bet.
Than he was after. The Bills sending the Jacksonville Jaguars and their fans home with not many smiles tonight.
Does Doug Peterson get fired?
No.
You don't think so?
They did lose 8 in a row, right? What is it last year?
They
6?
Since like Thanksgiving of last year.
I guess I answered that way too quickly. Someone told me their owner was here tonight too.
So
Shad Khan.
I know.
I don't know if he was.
I know his son was here because he was watching the game from the booth where we're recording this, which is right next to the press box. And I actually ran into him in the press box. He runs like AEW. Like the wrestling thing, you probably don't follow wrestling.
I was thinking AEW, was that like a technical service or something?
No, it's like another professional wrestling thing. But I actually ran into him in the hallway, and he was very nice. His team was getting their teeth kicked in, and he was like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And I was like, "Good, nice to see you." But just very casual.
I think he's numb to it by then. This game's over. I'm going home.
There were quotes from Shad Khan before the season, that this is the most talented Jags team that they have ever assembled. And now they are 0-3, and they just lost by 37 points.
Who do they have next week?
I do not know. Let's go.
I'm gonna look at them right now. The
Let's go all
Jaguars.
way to the bottom.
By the way, they are the last team in the standings. Ooh, they have the Texans. They have a couple of division games coming up. Texans, Colts, then Bears, Patriots. So if they can navigate a couple wins here somehow, they can get back in it. But man, that's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I mean, they just lost by 37 points. Now they're going on the road to Houston. So I don't know. Maybe they can right the wrongs. It's just hard. Like they're banged up, but I don't care how banged up you are. You should not be giving up 47 points in any game that you play. And it's like a 47 points that could have probably been 60 if the Bills were not trying to take their foot off the gas.
47-10. The Bills victorious. They moved to 3-0, and they have a very impressive victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. For Matt, I'm Sal. Hope you enjoyed the pod here tonight. And of course, I'm sure you enjoyed the Buffalo Bills victory.